All right. Hello, Tide fans. Welcome to Tide Talk. I'm your host, Sean Taylor, here in the studio with Jimmy. We look a little different this week. Mo's back down in Margaritaville, down in Panama City Beach. Joining us on
That's right.
Good to see you, Mo.
What's up, Mo?
Good to be seen. Good to see y'all.
I'm not going to lie. I like having you in the studio. It creates a little bit of an atmosphere when you're in here. You know, Jimmy getting passionate and excited with his shoulders getting all raised. And
I know he gets a little worked up. I don't know where he gets worked up.
I don't know if it was a game or if it was you being in here, Mo. I don't know what it was.
I think it could have been both.
Either way, I'm creeped out. So,
yeah.
So guys, we saw a different team in the second half of the game. I think we all can agree to that. Hang on, let me back up. We saw a different offense in the second half of the game. I truly think our defense played well the entire game. They played well in the first half, gave up one touchdown, but I mean, you're talking about a team that was scoring 50-plus points a game, and you held them to, just getting one time in the end zone. So I think that was pretty decent.
Yep.
But saw a different team in the second half. I liked the fact that there was some adjustments made. Mo, I'm gonna start with you. Give me your thoughts on what you saw. I know the first half was ugly and we were all complaining, but give us your summary.
I think, which everybody in the country has chimed in. Yeah, it was the greatest second half we've had in a while. But I'm going to go to two things. One, I think Tommy Rees and Saban kind of came to the understanding of what would make this offense work better. I think it can still be better, utilizing Jalen's natural talents. And two, I think we always talk about, the coaching challenges. I think the biggest coaching that Saban is doing right now is that to Tommy Rees. I think he's teaching him a little bit more. Case in point, first and goal at the 1. I don't need to say more. Second half, they came out in short yardage.
I don't know if we're going to talk about that or not. But
Jalen's hands were under his butt that time, so as it should have been. So go ahead.
Yeah, Jimmy.
So, after watching that game, I started thinking, and honestly, it kind of reminded me, the game did, of the Clint Eastwood movie, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Because we saw all of that in that game. Obviously, the bad and the ugly was from the offensive side of the ball in the first half, like you mentioned. But we saw we saw a lot of good on the defensive side. We saw a lot of good second half offensively. Man, Milroe, I'm telling you, man, it's funny because he's got such potential. I mean, that ball he threw under pressure to Hale, I mean, that was a big time play.
Excellent play.
So, man, we also saw some bad and ugly out of him. Of course, a lot of that in the first half. But yeah, so it reminded me of the good, the bad, and the ugly because, again, I thought we saw a little bit of that, or a little bit of all of that during that game. But yeah, defensively, I mean, we were getting after it all game long. I was happy to see that. Of course, Dallas Turner kind of quietly showed back up a little bit this past week.
What we expected all along.
His name was called out, which was nice to see. But even but talking about the linebackers, when Lawson went out, man, we never kind of missed a beat. He was even in there really. I thought so. A lot of good things on the defensive side of the ball. Again, the second half of the offense. Again, it's kind of like what we were expecting and what we've been accustomed to over the last few years.
Yeah, Maurice and Jimmy, in the first half, we're blowing each other up on text, and of course now I'm really questioning what we're doing offensively, whether that be play calling. And I even said it's hard for me to say based on what I witnessed that it was just Tommy Rees. I do think there was some of that was on him, but I did mention, and if we went back and looked at the text, I kept saying, where are the quick routes? Where's the short stuff, the short game? And man, the second half, if you remember the very first play from scrimmage, the second half, Milroe was under center, play action with a rollout. So, maybe there was a conversation between Rees and Saban at halftime. Maybe he is doing some coaching of the coaches. That's part of being a leader. But I'll tell you that I was pleased with the changes because we made the game easier for Milroe. He was hitting the 5 to 7 yard throws, and ultimately it did create the down, field pass. One to Burton and then the one to Hale.
How good a catch was that by Burton, by the way?
Incredible. But that's the thing. I think we're starting to see some receivers, which we've kind of complained about for the past 2 years. We're starting to see some receivers step up and make some big catches.
Man, I'm glad you brought that up because
Thank you.
That was part of the good. That was part of the good that we've actually seen. Yeah, that's part of the good I think we've seen.
Good job, Sean.
Thanks. Coming out of camp this summer, that's all we heard was about receivers. How many drop passes have? Knock on wood. Have we had a drop pass out of the receivers yet?
Not a lot.
They've been making plays. They've been making plays every game. Tough catches.
Thanks for the kiss of death.
Exactly. But yeah, man, the wide receiving group, man, if we just get in their hands more often, like I said, I think they've done a great job, excellent job to this point.
Yeah. So I was happy to see that because we said multiple times when we were texting each other to cut the field down for Milroe. I think he struggles with making quick decisions. Not that he can't read the defense. He just struggles with making quick decisions, which ultimately he ends up holding the ball too long. Even on some of the completed passes, you notice that it's, as an example, to the one to Oots in the center of the field, in the middle of the field, he was running up the seam. He held that ball just a little bit too long, and the DBs almost made a play. Now, Oots made a great catch. However, if we throw that ball sooner, maybe he has a chance, to run. So I think we made it a little simpler for him, but then also we started running the football a little more effectively too.
I mean, when's the last time we could honestly say, coming out of halftime, that we felt like we've made adjustments?
It's been a while.
It's been a while, and again, obviously we saw that coming out of the second half on the opposite side of the ball. I'm glad you brought up the tight ends.
Thank you.
How about those catches?
Well, okay, this isn't the Jimmy. This isn't the Jimmy show. So
go ahead, take it away. What you got to say over there?
Yeah, you're welcome. I will agree with Sean in the fact that Milroe, and it's nothing against him because if memory serves, you go back and look, McElroy and I believe AJ, they had problems going through their processions their first year starting before the bye week. The game was too fast for them. They weren't slowing it down. Milroe, I think, is in that spot right now. In no circumstance should Milroe right now be a straight drop back. There has to be a play action or some type of RPO off of it. And that's what opens up that deep ball, because the interception, he hurried it. He panicked and he didn't see the receiver open underneath at the 3-yard line. And I agree with Sean in the fact that it hasn't slowed down for him in a passing situation just yet. I think it will over the course of time, but right now he's definitely not ready.
Yeah, no question. I think we're all in agreement on that with respect to Milroe. I mean, listen, he's never really been a full-time starter, and it been his offense or, his position to lose. So I think we're going to talk some more about that. We're at a good time to take a quick break, but we'll come back and talk a little bit about that because I do have a couple of things I want to mention with respect to Milroe and that interception specifically. So, Tide fans, hold your seats. We'll be right back with Tide Talk.
Beam wins it on a last-second kickoff return, and it's all thanks to the Big G. He's only about a foot tall, and he's not great at catching since he doesn't have any arms. But boy, when he does, he's end-to-end in a blink thanks to that 1 gig speed that makes him so special. You can tell his teammates just love playing with him. Maybe a little too much. Gig speed from Beam, made for football, available everywhere.
All right, welcome back, Tide fans. Maurice, you mentioned the interception. Listen, as a former OC and quarterback and coach and played quarterback myself, they teach you, and especially that situation when you're in the red zone, you've got one read, and it is the cornerback. And if he drops, you throw it short, and if he sits, you throw it long. That's where your eyes go. Your eyes go to the cornerback. He held the ball too long. You could tell you mentioned him, he was uncertain whether he should throw it or not, but he didn't want to just drop it down and run because everybody believes that's what he does too much anyway. So he wants to get better as a passer. And you're right. He just totally missed Jermaine Burton at the 3-yard line, standing wide open with nobody around him. And so it's going to be those little things. He's going to get more reps. He's going to learn from film more.
We hope.
He should, but he certainly has, the skills to do the things that we need to do to be successful, especially hopefully seeing some improvement with the offensive line and being able to run the football a little bit better. It takes some pressure off the quarterback. But I'll say this again, and I saw it Saturday, especially in the first half when we were having a fit on what was going on. That's the reason I kept saying I can't say it's just Tommy Rees, because there were so many plays that I saw where we had a wide open guy. And it wasn't necessarily a sack scenario. It was, we just didn't get him the football. Do you agree with that, Maurice? I know we've talked about that some. We're missing too many plays, and I think it's just because of his
indecision,
trust in himself as a quarterback with the arm and not the legs.
Exactly, and that's what I've always had a problem with dual quarterbacks is they trust their legs more than their arm. I think he'll get there. I think it'll slow down and he'll get more and more comfortable. And you're correct. He was holding. You can tell his feet get choppy and he starts patting the ball too much when he should be getting rid of it when the receiver's open at that spot. His timing is off. It's not great yet, but he's slowly getting better. He's a heck of a lot better than he was last year in the game that he started. So,
yeah,
I think it's just going to become more comfortable and more film.
Did you say a second ago that people are thinking he's running too much?
No. I think that people think that in his mind to drop it, to pull it and run. But I wish he would run more.
But that's why they have a spy. That's why they use the spy.
Did you notice that we did have some of those design quarterback runs?
Got to with him.
And I think we need to do that more. I think he needs to take off more. But that's just me.
Yeah, go ahead, Maurice.
It can't be just the quarterback draw because they have a spy.
That's
they
right.
learn from Texas. That's all you got to do. We haven't ran an RPO. We've run an option, but the other day I didn't see the option with the pass in it. But he's got to run it to keep the defense honest. And they are bringing up, a nickel to spy on him or whoever. But as soon as he gets more and more comfortable throwing it, they're going to have to, like the other day, they had to back off eventually. When you see all 11 players on the television screen, meaning the safeties are playing 10 yards in, well, they're not respecting your arm. They're there for running.
That's exactly right.
And
when you start seeing the safeties walk down, yeah, I can't agree more. And we were seeing that. We saw it a lot. We saw it some last year because we didn't have a receiver that would really take the top off. We didn't see it the year before because Jameson Williams, and John Mechie were likely to take the top off the very first play of the game. And so we haven't seen that. But you're right, Maurice, when all 11 guys on both sides of the ball are in the window, they're saying, okay, you're going to have to beat me deep or because we're going to stop the run. The thing that I was making a statement about on Saturday with respect to the spy, I do have a feeling that more teams will play a spy with Milroe. But then he's got to trust his arm And then also, which is what we've said multiple times, receivers have to get open. If they're going to run a spy and keep a guy in there just for Milroe, then we got to have some guys. So that's where my question started becoming: is it Reese or is it just our route trees and decisions? Are they running two-way routes?
I'm telling you, we've been open all year. It's not the receivers not getting open.
So you're right.
Don't let him talk to you like that.
Because some of those sacks are not because the line's breaking down. Some of those sacks is because we're running our routes too deep.
And most of the time it's because he's not seeing an open receiver.
And I don't disagree with that. I've definitely seen that a lot. He's not picking up the receiver. Maurice, I didn't even really realize this until after the game, but there was some linemen that we swapped around a little bit. And I believe the Pritchett kid replaced Proctor.
Yep, Proctor came out for a little bit in the second quarter. Of course, he showed back up in the third and played decent in the second half.
Maybe that's what the kid needed to have a fire lit under his rear end a little bit.
We just to give him a little wake up call, and you tell him at halftime, hey, you're coming out and putting somebody else in. No matter what kind of star you have behind your name as a recruit, it's an attitude adjustment. It makes you stop and think. So maybe it helps.
So if you were grading the offensive line, do they get an improvement from where they have been?
From where they have been, I think so. Maybe just a tick up or half a point up. I still think they need to be improving, whether it's communication or just manning up and blocking your guy one-on-one or whatever it might be. But yeah, I would give them a little tick up from where they have been. Second half for sure.
I think that there were 4 sacks recorded in the first half, if I'm not mistaken.
We had 9 plays for negative yards in the first half. Almost a third of our offensive plays were for negative yards.
Yeah.
So I'm not ready to pop the champagne and pat them on the back.
I do believe they improved, especially in the second half, because listen, in the fourth quarter, it looked like Alabama football. We were pretty much running when we wanted to. Jace McClellan had a really good game. After contact, had a good game. I just think, which says to me that both Roydell Williams and McClellan can get the job done. Doesn't matter who's in there. I think that the offensive line still needs to improve. There's something missing still there. Don't know who that is or what exactly that is, but there is something missing, because I watched a couple of plays, and I don't know if it's Dalcourt, because I know he was replaced at one point at right guard. I don't know if it's Dalcourt, but there was a couple of plays where we're running the football and Dalcourt's getting stood up at the line of scrimmage. No movement at all, and that's an issue.
So I read something, and again, it's one of these, it's a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy who's friends with a guy that used to play offensive line and knows the coach. And I was reading his take on it, and he was basically saying that the kids, the offensive line, they're not trusting what the coach is trying to teach them.
That's never good.
And so the guy was saying, until they start trusting the coaching and trusting what what they're trying to do, then it's not going to get better. I thought that was interesting.
I can't disagree with that. I can't disagree. Maurice, hang tight just a minute. We're at a good time to take a break. We'll come back for the third segment. We'll break the defense down a little bit, talk about the injury to Lawson. Not sure exactly how long he's going to be out, but I believe he is going to be out for this game. So we'll come back and discuss that. Hold your seats, Tide fans. We'll be right back with Tide Talk.
Experience is key when selecting a flooring company. And at Huckabee Brothers Floor Covering, we bring unrivaled expertise to the table. From excellent flooring installations to swift and efficient water damage restoration, we've got you covered. Our commitment to customer satisfaction is unwavering. We take pride in exceeding customer expectations. Don't compromise on quality or convenience. Call Huckabee Brothers Floor Covering today. The ultimate choice for exceptional flooring solutions and unmatched customer satisfaction.
All right, welcome back, Tide fans. Maurice, we're talking about, we saw some improvement offensively. I made the statement to start the show that the defense looked pretty good the whole time. Do you think, how big of an impact do you think it is, Maurice, with Lawson potentially looks like he's going to be out for the game against Mississippi State this Saturday?
Well, I thought was it Blackshire that came in for him?
Jaheed Campbell is who replaced him.
Campbell. I thought he looked very good. I went back and watched some of the game again last night. The one thing, I don't mean to get ahead of ourselves by any means, but I saw in that game, it's the first time in a while that we rushed 4 without blitzing and was getting serious pressure on a quarterback. And I absolutely love the fact that we can have a defensive line that can get that type of movement, and it really helps out the DBs. The best, to me, the best DBs in the country.
But I also think Jaheim Otis being back helped. Tim Smith's played his butt off, in my opinion. You know, Tim Smith's doing a really good job. Listen, we saw several faces Saturday. The Keelan, I think it's Keenan kid, number 44. He got some playing time, and I thought he did a pretty good job. I watched him a few times. So it's good that we're getting some experience now. We're getting some guys that's getting some reps, especially at that position group. So because we have to have depth there.
Yeah. I mean, we do. I mean, we talked about it in our first show the season. Thought defensive side of the ball had potential to be really good, and that we were pretty deep everywhere except maybe the defensive line.
Right.
And so I think that's why, again, we didn't really miss anything with Lawson being out. Now, granted, we need him back for sure. But, man, let's talk about the secondary.
Oh.
I think I mentioned in that first show about this potentially could be the best secondary we've had.
You did.
As a group. Man, Malachi Moore, Kool-Aid, and Terry Arnold, man, they're making themselves some money right now.
Man, I'm going to tell you what, Malachi Moore,
dude, they're playing phenomenal.
Reminds me of Minkah Fitzpatrick. Not as necessarily his build. Minkah Fitzpatrick was a little bit taller, but his style of play reminds me of Minkah Fitzpatrick. He can cover. He'll come downhill and hit you. He reminds me of who's an All-American and now playing in the pros, Minkah Fitzpatrick. And so, yes, I think we'll be tested a little bit this week again. It's not the same air raid offense for Mississippi State, but Will Rogers throws the ball really, really well. But man, the guy that everybody talks about is Kool-Aid McKinstry. But is anybody playing better than Terrion Arnold?
I've always liked Arnold. I think he got I think he was a scapegoat last year for a few games, which I was like, I think the guy's playing great, and he's really playing good this year. I haven't seen too many mistakes. Like I said, all the DBs are looking. This is the best group of 4 or 5 we've had out there, not ever in a while.
Well, when you think about it, we don't hear Kool-Aid's name called much
because they don't throw at him a lot.
They go away. So that's why Arnold's is always there. And,
yeah,
and
I agree.
And yeah, I mean, obviously he's had a couple of breakdowns here and there, but for the most part, especially the last couple of weeks, man, he's played really well.
Well, Jimmy, to your point about Lawson, we really need him mainly because he's the signal caller. He's the captain of the defense. But I do agree with you. Of course, we saw him go out of the game, but you didn't really notice that he was out of the game. Jaheed Campbell, Trayvon Marshall, who came from Georgia, played a really good game. Blackshire played really well, coming in and filling in. So those guys are playing the position well. Now, it'll be interesting to see this week because someone has got to be the signal caller. Now, based on what I read, it was the sophomore, Jaheed Campbell, who replaced Lawson. He was the guy getting the signal from the sideline and making the calls. So him being a starter, starting the game, should everything go as we understand it with Lawson not playing, it'll be interesting to see how he responds in that environment. He's been coming in and playing, and he's not the starter. He doesn't have that responsibility. So now with that responsibility, I'll be interested to see how he handles the spotlight.
Well, I'm going to be interested to see how we as a team show up, not just the defense, not just him in the middle, because, the last couple of years we haven't fared too well on the road. So this week is going to tell a lot to me as far as what kind of team we got. Like I say, I know it's Mississippi State, which traditionally hadn't really struggled that much from Mississippi State, whether it be on home or the road. But this is our first SEC road game.
Primetime game.
Interesting to see how Milroe responds being on the road. Like I said, interesting to see how some of those younger players respond. And this is a team in general, because, again, we have not fared too well on the road in the last couple of years.
Handling the cowbell noise, that'll be, something that we got to deal with. Maurice, what do you think about first road game, being at Mississippi State, in that environment, primetime game? What's your thoughts?
I agree. Believe it or not, with Jimmy, we have not played well on the road. I think we probably will get a little ahead of ourselves as far as reading the articles and how we've turned the corner. Mississippi State is not. I was looking at their stats today. They're really low in basically every category. But yeah, Will Rogers, he's a slinger, and unfortunately, Mike Leach isn't there to direct the air raid, but we're going to probably come out flat, and I think the Lions 14 Mississippi State will cover.
You think Mississippi State will cover?
Oh yeah, it'll be like 24-17, something like that. We will on the road, even though it's 60 miles up the road, we'll come out there flat, and, rest on our laurels. I think our defense will show up, but offensively, I think we'll have some.
Well, I read a quick stat. I read a stat. I'll tell you real quick. Deontay Lawson is the leading tackler on the team. Do you know who's second? The freshman, Caleb Downs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Really?
And, listen, I've had kind of a quiet game Saturday, but he was always around the play. Didn't have any interceptions. He was around the interception that Arnold made, but if you watch the play, because they showed it multiple times, he left his feet way too soon. And, of course, Arnold kind of snuck around and got the pick, but he was around the ball all the time. But he's second leading tackler as a freshman. So, Maurice, you're going with 24-17 as the pick for the Mississippi State game. Is that right?
Yeah, thereabouts. It's going to be low scoring.
Jimmy?
See, Mississippi State, again, hate the fact that they lost their coach, one of the, personalities, one of the better personalities in college football this past year. But man, they're just not very good to me. Mississippi State's not. So I know it's on the road. Again, we haven't been tested there yet as far as SEC road games. But, man, defense travels. Our defense is – I think our defense has turned a corner. I think they'll show up. I don't think Mississippi State has a chance of scoring too many points on us. It could be like this past week where maybe we start out sluggishly or slowly on the offensive side. But ultimately, I think we pull away in the second half, fourth quarter. So I see us winning comfortably. I think it could be a 38-10 or 38-14 kind of game.
Okay. I'm calling.
By the way, I was right last week, but go ahead.
I was really close, just so you know.
I think we're all pretty close, but go ahead.
I picked 24-17, and the game was 24-10.
That's not even close.
Okay, my bad. So I'm picking 28-13 tied on the road against Mississippi State. I do not see them scoring a lot against us. I do believe our defense will show up. I believe Milroe starts getting even more comfortable as this game progresses. I believe we'll start seeing that. I believe the offensive line starts getting more comfortable with Jalen Milroe being the quarterback, because I also think that's important. So Tommy Rees will get a little more comfortable, and I think we'll have a significant win. As I said, I'm going to go 28-13. So,
hey, is Tommy Rees old enough to go into a bar?
No, barely. 31, I think.
Okay.
31, 32. Oh. So we will talk as usual on Saturday, like I'm sure we always do. And then we'll do this, Tide fans, right here again next week on Channel 207. And we'll catch you up after this Mississippi State game. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.